Mesa Verde National Park is known for the well-preserved cliff structures created by the ancestral Puebloan people. These ancient dwellings draw hordes of tourists every year who also get to walk the trails and take in the natural beauty of the park. Dale Stehling visited Mesa Verde with his wife, Deneen, on June 9th of 2013. The two were traveling across the country with a camper on a trip which would see them visit numerous national parks. The couple had been married 32 years and had 4 children. Dale was 51 years old, retired, and was well known for his love of hiking and walking. Late in the afternoon, Dale and Deneen were at the Spruce Tree Trailhead. The day was sweltering with temperatures around 100 degrees. Dale stated he wanted to take a trail to an area known as the Spruce Tree House, which was only a 10-minute walk away. Deneen would stay put at the trailhead because the heat was too intense. Dale was leaving with no water despite the heat because the trip should have been a short one. The two then separated as Dale made his way along the short path to the treehouse. As time passed, Deneen began to see other tourists go to the same location and come back, yet Dale had not returned. She began to get concerned and reported him as missing to park officials. They began searching for Dale shortly after 7 p.m. that day. Park rangers were no doubt baffled at the time that someone could have vanished on the quarter-mile trail to the Spruce Tree House. It wasn't until the next day that more details emerged. Another tourist, a man named Jess Vihill, and his daughters were visiting the park the same day that Dale had been. As it turns out, they had seen and interacted with Dale the same day that he went missing, but on a different trail than where searchers were looking. Apparently, Dale had suddenly decided to take what is known as the Petroglyph Trail. It runs in a 2.4-mile loop and is known for the petroglyphs carved into the rocks on the trail by ancient Puebloans. Why Dale went down this longer trail is unknown. When the Vihill family encountered him, they say he seemed calm and mentioned needing to get back to where there were people waiting for him. One of Jess Vihill's daughters inadvertently captured a photo of Dale as they encountered him on the trail. This would be the last time anyone would see Dale Stehling alive. It was only when the Vihill family saw Dale's face on a missing persons poster the next day that they would inform park officials of their encounter with him. This new information significantly broadened the search area, which was flooded with ground searchers, canines, and helicopters. During this time, and purely by chance, a reporter named Jody Peterson would be at Mesa Verde. While there, she heard about the disappearance of Dale and decided to walk the Petroglyph Trail herself. An article that she published in the High Country News on June 23rd had this to say about her experience. Quote, "After an hour of walking, I suddenly heard a weary male voice call, 'I need some help.' I thought of the missing hiker. Perhaps after visiting Spruce Tree House, he'd attempted this trail and run into trouble. I called out several times but got no response. I thought about going off trail to look, but figured I'd become victim number 2 if I'd tried to scramble down those ledges and cliffs. My cell phone had no signal. I hiked back down the trail as fast as I could, and when I found the chief ranger, I told him what I'd heard. Relief washed over his face as another staffer said, 'We thought we heard a call for help in that area yesterday.' They quickly began planning to bring in dogs and more searchers." End quote. Later, she goes on to write that she fully expected to read in the news that Dale had been found, but nothing ever turned up. It's extraordinary that this reporter and a park ranger both heard cries for help in the area where Dale was last seen, but searchers were never able to find him. Bloodhounds that were brought into the area were also unable to find his scent. But the disembodied calls for help must have been coming from somewhere. Search efforts were slowly reduced over the following weeks and no trace and no new information regarding Dale was uncovered. This case effectively died, and remained that way for the last 7 years. Until on September 17th of 2020, it was reported that skeletal remains were found in Mesa Verde. Apparently, a hiker who had been walking off-trail stumbled upon the remains and subsequently turned in an anonymous tip to park rangers. The bones were bleached white from years in the sun, and DNA confirmation may no longer be possible. But the Montezuma County coroner said he's 99% sure the remains are Dale Stehling's because of items found at the scene, including driver's license, credit cards, and social security card. Though it can be difficult to determine the cause of death from bones, so far it has been reported that he died of natural causes. Authorities have been very tight-lipped about where the body was found exactly, except to say that it was found in an area closed to the public and was at the bottom of a canyon, which was 4.2 miles from where he was last seen. If this is indeed accurate, it's surprising. This would put him somewhere far off the trail he was last seen on, and somewhere along the large red circle you see on the map. To reach most of these locations, he would have had to cross incredibly rough terrain, including steep hills and deep canyons. And if he somehow did walk to the location where he was eventually found, then what could have drawn him so far away from the safety of the trail? For those who follow strange missing persons cases, it's likely no longer a surprise when bodies are found in locations that seemingly make no sense. It is one of the many commonalities this case shares with others, including the fact that authorities say they had previously searched the area where the remains turned up. The article mentions this fact only in passing, as if it is not an incredibly bizarre fact in this case. So much about this case is strange. When witnesses hear someone calling for help, it would seem all but certain they could be found. Yet it took 7 years and a man who was traveling far off trail, for reasons we do not know, to find his body. It's likely that this will be considered a closed case to all authorities involved at this point. But if any new information is released regarding Dale Stehling, I will be sure to post about it. Geraldine Largay was 66 years old, a retired nurse with a strong desire for adventure. It became her goal to hike the Appalachian Trail, a trip that would take her over 1,150 miles from West Virginia to Maine. She spent a long time hiking and practicing in preparation for this long hike. Her husband George was also involved, in the sense that he would drive and meet his wife at certain stops along the way and replenish her supplies so that she was able to travel light. Even traveling light, Geraldine was not a speedy hiker, and she took on a trail name as many Appalachian Trail hikers do. Her name was Inchworm. She began her trip on April 23rd with a friend, Jane Lee, and by July 22nd had traveled nearly 1,000 miles on foot, and was close to completing her goal. By this time, her friend Jane had left for home due to a family emergency, leaving Geraldine to travel the rest of the way alone. Jane would later say that before leaving, she tried to convince her friend to come with her, as she was concerned that Geraldine was not experienced enough to do it on her own and had a bad sense of direction. Geraldine refused to quit. The night of July 22nd, Geraldine stayed with other hikers at the Poplar Ridge Lean-To campsite. Here she made friends with another group of hikers. The next morning, as they were about to go their separate ways, these hikers took a picture of their new friend. This would be the last time anyone would see Geraldine alive. She was set to make an 8-mile hike that day to the Spalding Mountain Lean-To, where she would meet up with her husband George for more supplies. George would spend the day of the 23rd sitting in his car waiting for a call or text from his wife saying that she had arrived. This never happened. The next day, George would flag down law enforcement and report his wife as missing. Over 130 people participated in the search for Geraldine, It was massive in scale, and they focused their efforts on a 4.2 square mile area between where she was last seen and Spalding Mountain. Helicopters, dogs, and airplanes also participated in this search, and after 3 weeks of searching had turned up absolutely nothing. Lieutenant Kevin Adams of the Maine Warden Service was quoted in the press saying that Geraldine's disappearance was mystifying, adding that almost all hikers who disappear from the trail are found within a day, and that it is unusual to not find anything at all when searching the area for proof of her, concluding that Geraldine is that 1% who just seemingly vanish. For 2 years, nothing was found, until October 14th of 2015, a logging company surveyor stumbled across a campsite and remains. He promptly reported his find to local wardens, who went out to investigate the site. They found her collapsed tent and backpack, as well as her skeleton huddled up in her sleeping bag. She had hung up a reflective space blanket in a tree, perhaps to be better seen from the air, and had apparently set fire to a nearby tree in an attempt at a smoke signal. Her phone and a journal were also found. The phone revealed that she had attempted to send texts to her husband when she knew she was lost, and shed some light on her situation. In some trouble, got off trail to go to bathroom, now lost. Can you call AMC to see if a trail maintainer can help me? Somewhere north of Woods Road. And lost since yesterday, off trail 3 or 4 miles. Call police for what to do, please. These texts were never sent. The reception in the area was non-existent. And it is believed that Geraldine traveled further off trail in order to get to higher ground so that she could send these texts. She was never able to get better reception, and she ended up setting up camp. She would stay there writing in her journal and keeping track of the days she spent missing. Based on her journal entries, authorities believe she was alive at least 26 days after she went missing. Authorities would find the moss-covered journal and read immediately that it said, "When you find my body, please call my husband George and my daughter Carrie. It will be the greatest kindness for them to know that I am dead and where you found me, no matter how many years from now." What is truly shocking about this disappearance is that the location where Geraldine's campsite was found was only a little more than half a mile from the trail that she got lost from. Searchers later realized that they were within 100 yards of her on multiple occasions during that time that they searched. It truly boggles the mind to think that during the 26 days that she was alive, the searchers who were combing both ground and sky were never able to come across her location. It seems apparent that Geraldine made some attempt to be noticed by trying to set a fire and setting up the space blanket, but wardens who finally came across her campsite said it was hard to see until you were right on top of it. Perhaps the disappearance and death of Geraldine Largay is simply the most unfortunate of accidents. The pictures of both Dale Stehling and Geraldine Largay are shocking in the sense that you get to see two people who had no idea that they were about to disappear. Their bodies would not be found for years, and people would speculate to this day as to how they could not have been found given the massive searches that occurred for both. In each case, it can be hard to accept that searchers were seemingly so close to finding these people, yet could not. People heard Dale Stehling calling for help, but neither human or canine was able to find him until many years later. And searchers know they came so close to Geraldine, but somehow were unable to actually make contact with her. Did something prevent searchers from finding these people in the moments they needed it most? Or was it just bad luck and human error that cost the lives of both of these individuals? We will never know, but there is some closure to the families in the sense that now both have the bodies of their loved one returned to them, even if many years later. Until next time, thanks for watching.